Hello, welcome to my channel. I recently changed my direction and I decided to record here my random thoughts. And it's not that I didn't have any, and that's why I didn't record, but I just didn't, didn't want to post anything. But I've seen Bugonia, so I've seen Bugonia last week. And I'm not a movie critic, so I'm not gonna do like a systematic analysis with influences and art references. Just random thoughts because I did really enjoy the movie. I'm not even gonna talk about the director. I don't remember what's his name. I know he's like a Lantimos, something Lantimer. I'm probably awfully mispronouncing his name. I only know Emma Stone from from the main cast and the comedian guy who played the sheriff. I've never seen. It was Jesse, the main male actor. I don't know. He's not really an antagonist, but also he's not. I don't know if you could call him a protagonist. I think his name was Jesse, or the actor is called Jesse. I don't remember. But I really liked how. So Emma Stone, she's great. We all know that her acting was top notch. But I really liked the other one. I really liked the crazy guy. I just thought his acting was so like he felt so like I felt sympathy for him, although he did what he did. So I think that's kind of amazing because you probably are not supposed to, but I really did like how he was playing. I liked the music was great. It felt very symphonic. It was an orchestra, but also the way it started with a scene and then the way it finished a scene with like really loud percussion instruments. Again, the way the movie was structured, it felt again very like there was cut scenes, the way it will start. Also, it had 3 parts: day 1, day 2, day 3, the last part. And every time a new scene would start, like day 1, there will be again this orchestral music, like when you have you go to a classic musical concert and the guys who play the instruments are still kind of rearranging their chords and there is like this disjointed, slow and light background before the actual concert starts. It's like this chaotic, everyone is doing their own thing, and that's how it felt, that music, when they were showing the parts, like day 1 when they're showing Earth. The music was great. The cinematic part of it was great, and then obviously the themes behind it. So you have this guy who clearly has, well, not clearly, because when it starts you don't really know, but you see that he clearly believes in a thing that you wouldn't normally believe. Like, you wouldn't normally believe that there is aliens who want to destroy human civilizations. But the more you watch the movie, you kind of become also involved with this theory. And I know you can have, so there is it's an actual term in psychiatry when people who live with delusional person also start to believe this delusion, even though they are not mentally unhealthy, although you would argue they're probably not healthy anymore, but they're not schizophrenic, or they do not have any psychiatric or organic damage to their brain, but because they live with someone who maybe has an influence. For example, it's their father, so he's still an authority figure, or maybe it's their husband. They start to believe it as well. So there is the main guy who believes that there are aliens who are infiltrating the elites and kind of changing the ecosystem of the earth, so that we become more weak, and then they can, I don't know, take over the world or something. And his friend is autistic, and maybe he has a bit of learning deficiencies as well, and you can see that he starts to believe this theory as well, just because his friend has this influence over him. But also we start to believe this. He has this influence over us as well. So we start to consider this theory. We, the watchers, the spectators. I don't know, I think it's like a delusion by proxy or something. And then, what was the other interesting thing? There were a lot of snippets of interesting ideas in this movie, again, with the way that society, again, authorities, doctors, and policemen, social workers, just they fail these people with mental health issues. Like, you know, when the sheriff was going, oh, every time I'm going near your house, I'm thinking, oh, what's going on there? But he never came in and asked why, like, are you okay? We obviously know why, because he's also perpetrated abuse against him. But you see how deep is the failing. He's not just not helping. He actually made it worse. He's actually abused the situation of someone who is in a more vulnerable position. So how can you help when you actually actively when you actually abuse, like made him worse? And then, because he already probably has, as I said, maybe this person has schizophrenia or just schizoaffective personality disorder, they are more under the influence of other people. So he's online, he's researching, and he finds these conspiracy theories, and he really starts to be very invested in them, to the point where he's built this whole, how do you know the name of their society? How do you know the way, you know, the social structure of the society? How do you know how the shape looks like? It's impossible to know, but he's becoming so obsessed with these ideas that he's built in his head. He's built this whole thing that is impossible to know, but he somehow knows it, and they never explain how, because obviously there's no way to know, but he just knows. What else I found fascinating? Yeah, there were a few scenes with his mother where, and they are white and black, and I don't know why they are white and black. I thought about it, but I didn't come to a conclusion why these scenes are white and black. is it because he was depressed? Was it because at that point he is so depressed that he sees everything white and black? But yeah, the scenes with his mom are always in white and black, where she's reinforcing his ideas, and it's quite possible that never happened, and it's just, again, his hallucinations or his delusions that she's told him that they're changing her DNA. And then there is, I don't know, he's putting needles into her. Something to do, I just wonder if that's something to do with the fact that he's a beekeeper and the bees sting. Also, there are a lot of people who think that bee sting can cure MS, multiple sclerosis, or can cure, I don't know, cancer, and they kind of voluntarily go or like put a lot of bees on them so that they can sting them. I know there was also these theories about the curative effect, which I don't know how true is that, but certainly it's probably not a panacea for everything, but a lot of people think it is. And then there is these other scenes with his mother where Emma Stone, I'm going to call her Emma Stone because I actually can't remember now what's her name in the movie. I have terrible memory. Very often I'm watching movies and I forget details. I forget like what's the name of the character. In my mind, it doesn't matter as long as I call her somehow. He's Jessie, she's Emma. That, I don't know, like in my that's how my brain remembered that. That's it. I remembered her name for a while, but now I forgot because I've watched it last Sunday or Saturday. But yeah, there is this scene where Emma is telling him that they've done a mistake, and because of them, so she's in a coma. His mom is in a coma, and he is very young. He looks very young there, and he looks very vulnerable and sad. So that scene really, really touched me because he really looks very sad and young and vulnerable and lost. And they are telling him that like they will contribute to his loss and they will compensate him for his loss. But his mom is in a coma by that time, I think, and that's what tells me that definitely happened in his mind. This imagery, but she's floating. So I think in the first scene she floated. So she was putting needles. Someone was putting needles, and I know she was also addicted to some. But I think the needles are still either the medications they were putting her that made her sick, or there's some other symbolism. Anyway, at the end, she kind of, in the first scene, she floated, which, like, she's in a coma, she's not conscious. And then in the second scene with Emma, she's just floating and he's keeping her by a string or something. So he's keeping her and she's floating. Obviously, that's in his mind. He probably thinks that he still can help her, or he's holding this woman alive. I don't know, but again, a very strange scene, and this scene looks very out of, like, the movie has its tone and its visuals, and these scenes are very different. They are a bit surrealistic and they are very symbolic, and kind of, they have a very different feel to them. They reminded me of this movie with it probably has 20 years. They reminded me of this movie with Jennifer Lopez where she's in the mind of a killer, and the movie also has a lot of like weird symbolic scenes from art references. That's what it reminded me of. And what was the other things? So yeah, he's believing all these conspiracy theories. He's convinced his friend to believe in these conspiracy theories. And he has this thing that in 3 days, the emperor of this society will have to come down on Earth or something like that. I can't remember now. So they start to fracture this movie in like days. So day 1, day 2, day 3, and on day 3, and every time they put this image of Earth with like a crack or something. I couldn't understand what that is. I thought it was just light. I don't know. And on the day 3, you can see that that's not just Earth; it's flat Earth, and which is another conspiracy theory. And I do wonder if he believed that conspiracy theory as well about the flat Earth. But that was a nod to conspiracy theories that are crazy, like totally I don't know, not even unrealistic, but like totally absurd and really kind of stupid and uneducated, but some people believe that. So yeah, this kind of descent into madness. And then, so you have day 3, the Emma Stone confirms that she is an actual alien, but when I was watching, I still didn't believe that she's an actual alien. You see that he's killed other people to trying to prove. And you can see that she's in pain and she's trying to manipulate him, when she's typing this number on her calculator to kind of open the code so that they can go to her mothership. And you can see she's kind of dragging time. And so to me it was clear that she's not an alien. He's just a very sick man. But then they finish the movie. So he goes into, she tells him, so again, a spoiler, she tells him to go into, she had like a closet with her clothing, but she tells him that's the portal. He needs to go in, and then she'll go in. But then when he goes in, so he had bombs on himself, the bomb detonates and he dies. And then she's been taken to hospital, but she runs away from the ambulance, and then she has this weird walk, and I know her foot is damaged, her knee was damaged, but I think that was a kind of an allusion to this other movie with Emma Stone, with the same director, where she has this weird dance. That's what she reminded me when she was walking back to that closet. So she goes into the closet, and apparently she indeed that's a portal. So that's the last part, and it only lasts 5 minutes. It's very short. And indeed she is an alien, and they showed that the shape is exactly how he imagined it, because he had it on the computer. He had it like actually made up, like a toy. And it looks exactly like that. And so she's an actual alien. And then her peers extract her from this fluid. And they look so weird. They have these tunics and hats. She had this hat that looked like made from a very big yarn, like a knitted, children or grandparents maybe knitting for their grandchildren, for their toys, for their teddy bears, or for their dolls. So, like very big yarn, like thick yarn on small object looks even bigger. So that how it looks, like very big yarn. Like she has this hat, and it looked so weird. It didn't look like anything you would think a high, very evolved society wears. Um, and they decide that they need to end. They decide that they need to end Earth because the experiment has failed. So she pops this thing. So the Earth is there. So the flat Earth is actually in front of them, like a plate covered in like a film. So she pops the film, and you can see that they show this apocalypse that I saw in the trailers, because every person on Earth is dead. Everything. So something is still working. They show people in schools who are dead. Sadly, you can see people in airport controls, and everything still works. Everything, it still runs. Something is still moving. A boat is still going with its dead people on board. But cats are alive, and dogs are alive, and bees are alive. And I think I've seen a very short fragment of analysis that I've tried to keep away, that he was trying to see, this guy Jesse was trying to save Earth, but actually because of him, they decided that the experiment has failed and they need to finish Earth. And by the way, who are these aliens to us that they need to, what kind of experiment? Apparently, they accidentally killed all the dinosaurs, and they were felt guilty. When they were like here on Earth, they accidentally killed the dinosaurs, they felt guilty, and so they decided to populate the Earth with like copies on themselves, like genetic copies or something like that. But we decided to make our own experiments, and when these aliens discovered it, they saw that the people that they created were much more aggressive and I don't know, they were sick and aggressive, as she called us. You're just a sick ape. You're just a sick ape. So again, I think it's an allusion to some conspiracy theories where they say that there were other civilizations before our civilization, like the Atlantis. So personally, I think you can have the movie with the 3 parts where he dies and she escaped, and you can completely disregard the 5 minutes, honestly. Not because I didn't like it, I actually quite like it. I think there is a lot of things to unpack for those 5 minutes. But really, if you just want the plot, if you just want to talk about mental health, how how this conspiracy thing forms, how they spread between people who are online, how they spread in their families, how families become infected with some conspiracy theories just by proxy, or friends, how that influences, how that can kill your friend, your family, your theories that you have can destroy the life of your family and friends. You can speak about society, how it fails people with mental health, how it fails people who are vulnerable, how it fails ill people, have health problems, how pharmaceutical companies don't have any, or have any little responsibilities for the drugs that they put on sale, like the opioid crisis, or even this medication for, was it for nausea in pregnancy that caused a lot of fetal abnormalities. So there is all that. There was something else in the main part that I found, and I can't remember. If I'll remember, I'll insert it or just put it at the end. How, there was also this interesting phrase that she said. It's when they were fighting, Jessie and Emma, and she says, "You are a loser, I am a winner, and you're a loser. You'll always lose because you're a loser and I am a winner." So this mentality of these people that they are winners, we're all losers for them. We do not matter. And they can get away with anything because they are winners and we are losers. And yeah, again, about the movie, as I said, you really, despite him being basically a serial killer, that's what he is, he's a serial killer, you feel more sympathy towards him than to her, although she's in the position that she is. And again, this appears in the movies. She's like, do you know what will happen now? You've kidnapped a high-profile manager for a very famous company. So she's a high-status person, but also she's a white woman. So all hell will break loose now. And she's very, I heard, despite everything, awful things, the only thing that, I was like, oh, Jesus, it's when she was screaming, when she was being electrocuted. That was awful. And even then, there's a snippet to all the suffering, like raw suffering that people have that have been in this situation. But still, I had very little sympathy for her. Yeah, I thought that was, she didn't, despite her position, she did not feel vulnerable. From her first, when she was kidnapped, she first put off a fight. And even when she was bound in his basement, she was on top of the discussion. She started she was very proactive. She was very, she was very, she wasn't slobbering and crying, and she was very businesslike, and you can feel that she's the kind of person that is always in control of the situation. But also she's very awkward, which I don't know if that's an illusion because she's like an alien. When she tells her secretary and then the porter that you can go, but you still need to do your job, but you have to be with the family, but you also need to show your commitment to the company, but also, so it was always like an illusion that yes, you can go, but actually no, you have to work until you've done everything that you have to do. But it's all done very clumsy, very like it like a person who doesn't know how to be human with other people. Same when she was picking up her car, she was like, "But yeah, you can go early, but not too early, unless you have something to do," something like that. And that was really awkward. Everyone was like, the interaction with her was awkward. And it could be an allusion to the fact that she's not human. She's an alien. but also it could be an allusion to the fact that she doesn't has the human experience as other people because she's on top. I think, and there are studies who show that people who are in very high positions have, like they, for example, can't recognize facial emotions as much because for them it doesn't matter anymore. So they kind of lose some of the, and it's actually like a brain, like their brain changes. Their brain changes. They can't recognize human emotions on the face anymore. And they stop looking at us as human. We are just numbers to them. So in a way they are aliens. In a way they are aliens. And again, it ties in with these conspiracy theories, and it's kind of this conspiracy theory just in front of you, just like there's the comedian George Carlin, where he says you don't have to have like a formal conspiracy theory. It's just how things are. It's the system. It's their interests converge, and things just happen because that's the way they need to happen for the people on top. And it's not because they've sat in one room and said, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But for some people, it's easier to imagine that's how things are going, that there is like a conspiracy theory behind your back, someone is talking behind your back, because that's how our paranoid lizard brain is. We think someone is behind us trying to, but it's not that. Nobody's trying to do something on purpose necessarily. Obviously, there is some tactics and strategies that are purposeful, but a lot of things are happening because that's how things need to happen for people on top, and because they have the power, they just happen this way. But when you're on the bottom and you have this primitive lizard brain talking to your conscious brain, it tells you, oh, there's probably because, and for some people it goes to extreme where they think it's like lizard people, that there's lizard people or alien who are trying to, or some other conspiracy theories that are crazy. Like the main conspiracy theories in front of you. You have these people who have had power for generations, maybe. Don't forget, for example, in England, I think one of the lords has said that the best way to gain money and influence in England is to have grand I don't know, parents who 1,000 years ago were best friends with William the Conqueror. So it's it's not just a word of generational health. It's not just a word. People who have money now have been from families who have had money for hundreds of years, thousands of years. These are people who indeed have a millennia, maybe, we don't know, but they might be millennia of leaders. And so they've always had, who knows, maybe their genetic is different. When I'm talking like that, and you start to think, oh, maybe they are different then. But I think it's, I mean, the brain of the people who are on top definitely changes with time, but it does change. And it's proven that they have, the way they see world can be very different. But again, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's just how things are happening. They've always happened this way, and they're still happening this way. There is still generational power and generational wealth, and the movement up in society is minimal even now. It's a bit better, but even now it's minimal. All this, we're living a bit better. The standards of living are better, but we still don't have any power. it's kind of a bit of an illusion. They sometimes give us a bit of say, but I think a lot of, and for most of crucial ways in which we would like our life to be, we don't actually have any say, unfortunately. So yeah, there's like this conspiracy theory hidden, not hidden, but put on top of something very obvious. Here's this woman who has all this power. Here's this company who has all this power to do all the things for profit, and they're doing it because they can. There don't have to be aliens for that, but for some people, that's the most comfortable, maybe, conspiracy theory, or more makes sense to them somehow. So you can watch the main movie just like that without the 5 minutes. But there is also that 5 minutes at the end that is really, really interesting, because it kind of puts everything, it starts the movie with these like two crazy guys, and then you kind of start to think, oh, maybe that's where things are going. Maybe she is an alien. At the end, you're kind of it's just crazy. And then there's this 5 minutes of like, oh, she's an alien. So it's kind of like up and down. But I think those 5 minutes were not to finish the movie with a conclusion. They are not. You can finish the conclusion with the fact that she is a high-ranking CEO who has been kidnapped and escaped by sheer will from this traumatized, mentally unhealthy, delusional man who has blown itself up by chance, who, by the way, killed his mom. Yes, in the movie she told him how to do it, and he wanted to save her. But let's not forget that a lot of shooters, people who go and shoot in schools, in universities, in these adolescents who do these terrible things, often they would shoot their parents first, and then they go on a rampage. And not only adolescents, but like in general, all these men who go on a rampage, they kill their family first. They go on a rampage, they kill a lot of other people, and then they kill themselves. So again, that's an allusion to that. We never know why they kill their parents or relatives before they go and kill other strange people. Maybe they think they saved them, or maybe they think they are guilty of something. In this case, he was trying to save her, but he killed her. And then he kills himself. The bomb blows up. And you can finish at that, and even with that, it's like a great movie. But then there's this 5 minutes, which, as I said, they are not to give you a conclusion. To me, that isn't the conclusion. Oh, okay, she's an alien. No, it's like an extra way to give you some more thoughts into your head and more ideas. And that's one, as I said, the alien look like small toys for whom the grandma has knitted a hat and a sweater. They look ridiculous. They look like children toys. The idea of the ship is exactly as he thought about. How he would know? He couldn't have known, but the ship looks exactly like that. And then everyone dies. So everyone dies except for animals. So to me, that probably looks more, if we're going to take it in consideration that all of that really kind of happened, that looks more like maybe it was hallucinations that happened in the last 5 minutes, because it's very short. How long does the brain die? Like, I don't know. I don't know the medical exactly, but the agony of the brain when it still has some activity inside the brain, but and we hallucinate. So maybe that was his hallucinations, his post-mortem, I don't know how to call it, hallucination. And it makes sense that he sees the ship, he sees these weird aliens, and they look ridiculous because his brain is dying, and that's how maybe something childish comes into his mind from his childhood. And then because he is dying, that's the end of his world. Again, that reminds me of this, and I've never seen this movie, so I don't know if I'm maybe not talking, I'm talking rubbish, but the movie by the book of the Stephen King, what was that name of the movie? Life of Chuck. So there was also 3 parts, I think, in that movie, and in one of the parts it's like end of the world, and it's the end of the world because he's dying. Because Chuck is dying, so this world is just in his head. It's just an imaginary, or I don't know. It's symbolic. So maybe the earth dies and everyone dies because he's dying. But the animals don't die because he likes bees. He doesn't want them to die. Or maybe because when we die, there is a whole world that exists, still exists, even after we die. Our world has ended, but there is a whole world that still exists and will exist, and we'll never know of it. It's there, but it's the end of our world. It doesn't matter that once we die, the world as we know it, because it's our world, it's the world that we've constructed. The world is there. It's like a reality. We never know it. What the world that we know is the one that we've constructed inside our head. That's the illusion of the real world that we have in our head. We operate with that illusion, with that model. It's a model, and it dies with us. So to me, that's what it means. That's the world that dies. His world has died. But there are other things that exist because life goes on. Something still exists after we die. So that's to me one interesting kind of snippet of thought. But also, like, why did they decide to end the world? Let's say that they are indeed aliens. Sorry. Let's say they are indeed aliens. And they are disappointed in us. But I don't think that what he did disgusted. Yes, he killed presumably some of the aliens. I don't think that that's the only reason why they decided to like end Earth and end humanity. It's not his fault. It's humanity's fault. Because, like, what did she see? She saw this sick ape. So she knows he's sick. She knows that he's a serial killer on what he's done. But she also knows the system, that things that maybe was done to him. She was part of it, actually. But she knows that we are corrupt, basically. She knows how corrupt. We're not just sick, we're corrupt. That's the meaning of the sick. I don't think that the meaning of the sick is that he's mentally sick. It's that we're corrupt. But corruption and sickness is kind of... So did she meant sick ape, or did she meant corrupt ape? So it's kind of... Are we even that... Like, we all think, oh, we must, humanity must continue. But are we really deserving of it? Would the earth be a better place? because I think it's a remake, and in the Japanese version, a remake of the Japanese version, everything dies, like I think the whole world blows up. In this case, they decided to keep it as like, no, the animal, the bees, the cats, the dogs, they still exist, the earth still exists, but the world continues without the humanity. And my thought would be you know, is it for the better of the world? At the moment, probably, because we're destroying it. So maybe it will save the ecosystem if we all die. So that's the other thing. Like, are we really that deserving of this earth, given how corrupt we are? I don't agree with that, because I don't think that dogs and bees are anyway better. It's not like cruelty and selfishness and all the awful things that people do when they do them is exclusive to us, because there are animals who are very cruel to the cubs, like eating someone else's cubs, for example, or raping and doing all sorts of awful things. With the bees, I don't know. I mean, again, there is this like theory with the I don't know what the meaning of the bees in here. He did say something about like the bees leave. If the bee is leaving, the colony dies or something. I think the idea is more about like the colony dying than necessarily about the main bee. Like what's it called? The mother bee, the queen bee. Didn't thought of that. I don't know. But yeah, I had a lot of thoughts about this movie. I really liked it. As I said, there were all these like small snippets that I haven't made any notes. I probably should have, and it would have been more systematic. But it's all like, like random thoughts, like randomly remembering a fragment from the movie and just randomly thinking about something. And I didn't put it on paper so that at least I can remember. So it's all a bit chaotic, because I just kind of talked about everything I thought about this week. But just thought. You have to put it on paper, otherwise you forget it and then you kind of remember it at the wrong time. So it was a bit chaotic and maybe not very chronological. But yeah, if you haven't seen this movie and you still watch this video, not a lot of people watch it, but still see it, because I don't think the way I've talked about it was probably very probably you know now the main things that happened in the movie, but not you might still enjoy it, I think. And you might make your own conclusions, I'm sure of it. But yeah, I watch this movie. I'll definitely maybe look up to the other movie with Emma Stone from this. I know there's a lot of sex there, which I don't really like that in movies, but maybe there's something else I'll see in that movie that I'll find interesting. But yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.